the Celestial Journal of Lioran, a bedtime journey through the ancient observatory. Welcome, dear listener. Tonight, we embark on a gentle journey to a distant land, to a time when the stars whispered their secrets to those who took the time to look up. This is the story of Lioran, a quiet dreamer, a stargazer, and a guardian of ancient knowledge. He lived in a coastal city kissed by golden light, where the sea murmured lullabies and time moved like the drifting clouds. Before we begin, take a deep breath. Let the rhythm of your breathing slow. Inhale peace and exhale the noise of the day. Feel the comfort beneath you. Let your body relax. Let your thoughts grow quiet. With each breath, you drift closer to tranquility, closer to the stars. Now, let us begin. Each morning in the city of Lioran began not with haste, but with harmony. The sun rose slowly, painting the white stone buildings in soft gold. Birds stirred in the olive trees, and the sea sent cool breezes through open windows. Lioran awoke in his quiet chamber, high within the tower of the Celestial Archive. The tower was a circular sanctuary at the edge of Lioran, perched between the vast sea and the sprawling city. Its domed ceiling opened like a lotus in the evenings, revealing the night sky in its fullest splendor. He stretched, savoring the feel of soft linen against his skin and the scent of aged paper, beeswax, and the faint trace of ocean salt that lived in the air. The walls of his chamber were curved and pale, lined with shelves of scrolls and charts. A single potted vine hung near the window, its green leaves fluttering gently in the morning breeze. Lioran moved slowly through his morning. There was no rush. His life was paced by the sun and stars, not the ticking of clocks. He bathed his face in cool water, wrapped himself in a loose robe, and stepped into his sandals. At his writing desk, he packed his satchel with care: a reed pen, a vial of ink, a bound journal, a handful of blank parchment sheets, and a satchel of dates and almonds. He stepped into the stone corridor of the tower. The corridor spiraled downward, lit by slits in the stone where light poured through. As he descended, the scent of lavender and citrus blossoms wafted up from the inner gardens. The sound of wind chimes rang softly, stirred by the morning breeze. Outside, Lioran was stirring to life. Market stalls began to open, merchants unrolling fabrics, setting out pottery, arranging fruits. The scent of baking bread drifted from the ovens near the city square. Children ran through cobbled streets with laughter in their wake, but the city's hum stayed gentle, never loud. Lioran crossed a marble bridge that arched over a reflective pool. Beneath its surface swam koi fish, their scales flashing like living jewels. He nodded to fellow scholars on their way to the scriptorium, 2 gardeners tending rosemary hedges, and 2 quiet monks sweeping the stones with straw brooms. He arrived at the grand Doma circular hall, that formed the heart of the Celestial Archive. Its roof was a marvel of engineering. Intricate bronze gears opened it wide at night and sealed it tight during the day. The dome echoed softly with the sounds of murmured discussion, turning pages and footsteps on polished stone. Lioran's task was both simple and sacred. He kept the Celestial Journal. Each day he observed the stars, tracked the movements of planets, and recorded dreams that visitors shared after sleeping beneath the dome's open roof. For in Illyria, dreams were believed to be gifts from the stars' messages wrapped in mystery. He settled at his station near the center of the dome. His desk overlooked a large, circular star chart carved into the floor-polished obsidian inlaid with silver constellations. Above, thin rays of light filtered through the dome's center, illuminating the chart with a gentle glow. Lioran opened his journal and began his entry. Today, the morning sky was clear. Venus lingers in the eastern sky, bright as a beacon. Birds began their flight westward. The city dreams in golden hues. He paused often, not because he lacked words, but because he loved to listen to the wind, to the voices that echoed through the halls, to the inner hush that only stillness brings. At midday, he joined others in the terrace garden. They sat beneath citrus trees, sharing bowls of figs and soft cheese, passing around hand-bound books, and exchanging thoughts about the nature of time and dreams. Lioran listened more than he spoke. His thoughts were quiet, but when he did speak, others leaned in. The afternoons were reserved for teaching. Small groups of apprentices gathered near his desk. They were curious, wide-eyed, eager. He taught them how to track the movement of stars with the simplest tools: a stick, a shadow, patience. He spoke of constellations and their stories, how Orion watches over the winter sky, how the twins bring balance, how the great lion guards the horizon. But more importantly, he taught the art of stillness. The stars move slowly, he would say. To understand them, we must slow down, too. Evening came gently. Shadows stretched long across the gardens. The dome creaked open, and the first stars shimmered in the indigo sky. Lioran returned to the rooftop observatory, where cushions were laid in a wide circle, lanterns flickered, and incense smoke spiraled upward. This was his sanctuary. Here he would lie back, eyes tracing patterns in the sky. Around him, others did the same. There was no talking now, only the sound of wind, the occasional creak of wood, the distant lap of the tide. Above, the stars emerged in full splendor. Lioran raised his pen and continued writing in his journal. The lion stretches across the west. His tail brushes the mountains. Tonight I feel the weight of time and the weightlessness of wonder. He sketched the sky, marked the path of a wandering star perhaps, a planet tanned, noted the dreams shared earlier that day. One visitor dreamed of floating through a sea of stars, another of meeting an ancestor beneath a silver moon. Time passed softly. One by one, the others left the rooftop. Lioran remained. He watched until his eyes grew heavy. Then, in silence, he returned to his chamber. He placed his journal on the shelf beside others from years past. He washed, changed, and lay down. Through the window, he could see the stars still watching. He let his breath grow slow. He smiled, wrapped in linen and peace, and sleep came like a tide, the festival of lights. A week after the winter solstice, Illyria prepared for its most sacred celebration, the Festival of Lights. It honored the longest night of the year and the return of lengthening days. Paper lanterns, shaped like moons and stars, were strung between rooftops. Every doorstep bore a bowl of fragrant oil and a single candle waiting to be lit at dusk. Lioran cherished this time, not only for its beauty, but for the silence it invited. The entire city seemed to whisper during the festival. Even laughter was softer, the music slower. People wore robes embroidered with constellations, their steps deliberate, like dancers moving with the rhythm of the night. At sunset, the bell of the Celestial Archive rang 5 times. It was the signal. Lights began to bloom across the city. Lioran stood upon the rooftop observatory and watched as candles flickered to life one by one. The city looked like a mirror of the night sky, as though the stars had descended to the streets. He lit his own lantern, its paper sides painted with the symbol of the owl, the guardian of wisdom. Then he joined the lantern procession that wound slowly through the city. The streets glowed gold and saffron. Children carried orbs of colored glass. Musicians plucked harps and flutes, their songs drifting like mist. In the city square, a storyteller stood before the great sycamore tree. With a voice that wove spell and memory, she told the ancient story of the first stargazer who listened so long to the night sky that he learned its language. The crowd sat in reverent quiet. Even the smallest children hushed in awe. When the final tale ended, everyone turned their eyes skyward. The moon, full and gleaming, floated above them. The stars glittered like lanterns that had never burned out. Back at the archive, Lioran opened his journal and wrote, "Tonight, the city glowed like the heavens. We became part of the constellations, and in that quiet wonder, the world felt whole." The hidden chamber. Some days after the festival, while dusting a forgotten alcove in the lower levels of the archive, Lioran noticed a breeze where there should be none. He traced it to a hairline crack in the wall behind a leaning bookshelf. With gentle hands and a scholar's care, he shifted the shelf, revealing a narrow doorway carved into the stone. He lit a lamp and stepped through. Inside was a circular room, smaller than any other in the archive. The walls were lined with smooth obsidian, the floor tiled in a spiral of stars. In the center stood a pedestal, and atop it a scroll sealed in green wax. His heart beat slowly as he opened it. The script was older than Illyria. It told the story of an observatory in the mountains, lost to time, where the stars spoke in patterns too complex for most eyes. Only those trained in silence and presence could understand. It included a map. Lioran didn't speak of the chamber to anyone. Instead, he began to prepare. He copied the map by hand, packed food and tools, and waited for the right phase of the moon. When at last the time came, he left at dawn, slipping through the city gates and taking the quiet road that followed the cliffs. The journey to the cliffs. The coastal road was lined with ancient stones and lavender fields that waved in the sea wind. Lioran walked for 3 days, stopping at dusk to rest and write. He spoke to no one, though he passed fishermen, shepherds, and a group of traveling poets who offered him bread. At night, he camped beneath the stars. He listened to the waves crashing below and the call of owls echoing through rocky valleys. The air grew colder, the stars brighter. On the 4th day, he saw it a narrow path carved into the cliffs, leading to a hidden plateau that looked out over the endless sea. At the edge of this plateau stood a broken tower, half swallowed by time. Vines grew through its stones. Inside, a cracked lens lay beside a collapsed dome. But in the center, still intact, was a mosaic star map matching the one from the hidden scroll. Lioran stood in silence, letting the wind speak through the ruins. He spent the night there, wrapped in a wool cloak, lying on cushions he brought. Above him, the sky opened wider than he had ever seen. He sketched, he watched, he wrote. This place remembers, even in silence, it teaches. And then, as the stars wheeled overhead, he slept. The return and the revelation. At dawn, a hush fell over the cliffside. Lioran woke slowly, wrapped in his blanket, the memory of stars lingering in his thoughts like soft embers. The sea murmured below. Seabirds soared quietly across the brightening sky. The hidden observatory had given him something he could not yet name, a deep quiet that resonated like music. He packed his things without hurry. Before leaving, he knelt before the star map once more and placed a single polished stone at its center, a token of gratitude. Then he began the journey home. The road back to Illyria felt different. Each step landed softer. Each breeze spoke to him. He greeted those he passed with a knowing look and a smile. When he reached the gates of Illyria, they opened as though they had been waiting. Inside, the city pulsed gently with life. Lioran crossed the bridge, passed the koi pond, and entered the Celestial Archive. The scent of parchment and lavender welcomed him like an embrace. Everything was as he had left Itond, yet everything had changed. He made his way to the rooftop observatory. The dome was already half open, the sky above a soft cerulean. There, he opened his journal and began to write not about what he had seen, but about what he now felt. There is a rhythm to all things. Even silence has its melody. I am part of that song now, not separate from the stars, but one of them. Later that evening, he was asked to speak to the apprentices. They gathered in a circle, wide-eyed and hushed. Lioran spoke not of ancient scrolls or secret towers, but of stillness, of listening, of waiting without expectation. He told them, "The stars are generous. They give freely to those who wait with open hearts. You don't need to understand everything. You just need to be present." That night, under a velvet sky streaked with silver, he lay once more beneath the stars. Around him, others joined, some scholars, some curious townsfolk, others who simply sought quiet. They watched the constellations shift. They pointed in wonder. They dreamed. Lioran rested on his back, hands folded on his chest. The stars above glimmered like old friends. A soft breeze curled around him, warm and familiar. He closed his eyes. Tonight, he whispered to himself, "I am weightless." And with that, he drifted into sleep, into peace, into the vast, eternal hush of the cosmos. You are safe. You are exactly where you need to be. Let go of the day. Like Lioran, you are wrapped in silence, in comfort, in calm. Your breath is soft, your body at ease. The stars are watching. The night is holding you. Everything is as it should be. You are weightless. You are resting. You are loved.